Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back a new YouTube video. So let's start with, we had some good news for Ripple and XRP, to be honest. XRP is included in the news, but we'll just talk about it. So the Monetary Authority of Singapore has approved an expanded scope of payment activities for our major payment institution license, enabling us to deliver end-to-end fully licensed payment services to our customers in the region. This was this morning for Ripple, and one of the things that I looked into when I read the article. So you can read it for yourself, so I'm not going to read out what they said, but one of the interesting points is end-to-end payment solution, which is part of Ripple's payments, using DPTs such as RLUSD and XRP to settle payments in a matter of minutes without the cost of operational burden or infrastructure build-out or maintenance. So XRP is being literally named in these discussions, which is a nice way to start your Monday morning, even if the markets are down. So let's talk about that now. So this morning, I was just looking at Sol there. It does look a bit head and shoulders in. It's something that I've discussed over there on Total as well in our weekly newsletter. In fact, I'll bring that up quickly. I could see the discussion and the argument for a potential head and shoulders top sort of pattern here. I don't think the top is in still. I don't think the top is in still. And we're just going to get into that in a minute, but let's just discuss what I showed you in the newsletter. Look, we talked about total market cap of crypto. I said, look, it's backing up into support, and then I'll show you what I said was this is on the 3-day because I wanted to highlight where we were on the RSI on the 3-day compared to where we were at the absolute lows of a bear market. Look, and then I'm actually going to just show you this chart, and then I'll show you what I wrote as well. So I'll take us to total on the 3-day. I've got a few charts to show you here, guys, and I put a bid in, and I've actually changed my bid from Zcash, and I did tweet about it over there on X. So I'll show you the weekly total first. This is total market cap of crypto. This is the weekly all-time high close from 2021. We've actually so far just come back and back tested and held that as support so far. Okay, we're also holding this trend line as support so far. Now I said yes, it's possible for this to be considered as a head and shoulders top. I don't think it's that likely. We're also seeing like a consolidating RSI structure at the bottom here, and we're back at the bottom of that range there for the RSI. But if we go to the 3-day here, this is what we discussed over there on the newsletter. So like the last time we got actually oversold in the 3-day RSI was very close to our bear market lows, if not at the lows. Like we did wick to like 762 bill, and from there we only went a further. Hang on, let me zoom in so I can show you this. Just so you can see like how much of a good potential opportunity this is. Looking at history, 4%. We only went 4.6% lower to the lowest of the lows of the bear market when we hit the 3-day oversold RSI. And right now, I'm not saying we're at that point, but what I'm saying is we literally touched the oversold area. We're bouncing up a little bit at the minute. Let's just see if we make a touch into that oversold area, because if we do, historically, as I've just shown you, it marks like a multi-year buy-in area. So it'd be weird if we're there, but that's something that I think that is important to look at, especially as we hit like quite a strong support level and everyone's calling for the sky to be falling. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just showing you my opinion on where I think we are, and this is what I've said the whole time. It's like, look, you don't have to agree with me, but my opinion is what it is, and I think things are oversold. I'm going to explain through why I think some of that now. I'm going to use one of the tokens that I put a bid in for ENA. This is ENA, and we'll go to the 3-day. Again, ENA on the 3-day for the first time ever has touched the oversold area on the RSI. I've actually bid below the range, like within this sort of area here. Yes, we did wick lower than this on the 10th, but I actually bid it around 21.50 with the returns and the take profit at 1.27 and $1.27, giving us a nice 35.66 risk to reward on the trade. Essentially for me, looking like a range. Could sweep the lows of the range, fill the order, send us to the top of the range again. Don't think it's much more complicated or less complicated than that. The reason why I wanted to discuss ENA specifically, that structure's pretty self-explanatory, but the reason I wanted to discuss ENA and show you why I think that we could be oversold against some assets that I think are valuable. ENA has a stable coin, USDE. this stablecoin's market cap is 7.13 billion. ENA's total market cap is, it's around here somewhere. ENA's total market cap is 1.76 billion. Now that means that there's nearly like 4 times ENA's market cap in TVL as a stablecoin on the Ethena network. And Ethena is still priced that much lower. I'm not saying that TVL equates to price, but I am saying there's definitely an argument to say, look, you got a $7 billion stablecoin native to this token in kind of its ecosystem, and the token's still only at 1.7 billion. Now, I'm not saying that gets realized. I'm not saying that gets really realized instantly. I'm just saying there is a discussion to say, I think we're quite oversold versus where I think some tokens could be priced during this period. Also looking at fear and greed index, we're at 20 still. Not quite extreme fear. I think 20 just bridges into fear. But I think that'll probably be lower again tomorrow. This morning when we woke up, prices sold off, and a lot of people are hinting towards the yen because government bonds in Japan went up to 1%, and I think it's more likely that we just got a weekly and monthly close yesterday. The monthly close was quite bearish, and then algorithmically things just sold off straight after that. Like if you look when this was, as soon as 12 o'clock happened, it was like boom, shit itself into the new month. Sorry, this is the new month opening candle. So whether that's going to be, this could be like our final little flush out. I was discussing how I thought bottoms kind of ended like this in a YouTube last week. What I said was, you normally find some lows. Let's get on the daily because it's more clear on the daily. What you normally do is start to find some lows in areas like this. I did say there is a bit of a fair value gap left here on this candle. So what I said was you could see price do this. Where's my pen? You could see price come up and then come down into this area, making some lows and then heading out as RSI hopefully makes a higher low. So then you have that bullish divergence where we've got lower low in price, higher low in RSI, and then we head on higher. This is the lows, at least for a retracement rally, up towards this sort of area here, if not up to this area, and then a discussion from there as to whether we go higher. I personally think we go to all-time highs this cycle. That hasn't changed. However, looking at some different tokens, like looking at Sol, you could definitely argue there's a head and shoulders top here for Sol. Again, we're right at support though, so it's nothing confirmed, but the head and shoulders top, I don't even think I need to draw it out for you guys. I might just draw it with my pen, just so you can see it, but it could be something like that, that we're in the neckline of right now. But again, nothing yet has confirmed, and sentiment's absolutely zero. So I do think that things are oversold relative to their strength or relative to their potential strength. And I think that things like ENA, for example, something that we haven't really priced in yet this cycle, is like some of these tokens actually have quite a decent ecosystem or are doing pretty well, and they're still being priced like 3 or 4 times less than their TVL. And as I said, like there's no pricing mechanism for TVL and networks yet, but I don't think it's negative that you have a stable coin that's worth 7 point something billion and your market cap's only 1 point something. So I think that's important to watch. And that's one of the things I'd be taking into consideration if I was looking to accumulate here, which I obviously am. I also think Litecoin's quite a nice bid here. Let me just show you Litecoin. We discussed Litecoin for a while. Get my pen off now. We discussed Litecoin for a while. I changed my bid, and I told you this on YouTube. I haven't actually got this bid open because I moved my bids onto ENA, but it looks like it might just be close to, if not wicking into my bidding area. Basically just bidding this support level, which comes in right now at about 75.54 for Litecoin, and that's again a huge risk to reward trade. It'll be 40 to 1 if you took that. It gives us the bottom of the October the 10th wick that we could take, even within the stop loss area. But the top of the range for Litecoin, if we just zoom out a little bit, look, is all the way up at 416. So it's like, it's this period for you guys to decide whether you think that it's worth it to try and catch some altcoins here. If you think altcoins are going to rally, if you think the market's done, these are the decisions that you guys have got to make. But I personally am still holding, and nothing's changed for me. Things are looking more bearish now than they were before, agreed. But things haven't played out the way that they would usually. and that catches people offside. You can say that it's catching me offside at the minute, but that doesn't mean that the cycle's finished. There's always tricks that come with the cycle, and that's why being in spot is such an important thing to do, because whatever happens, we can just sit in spot and just basically wait out problems. But this cycle to me doesn't feel like it's done. Look at Bitcoin dominance again on the weekly. Looks like it could continue to could bearish cross again and continue to lose strength. And in that sense, altcoins would do very well probably if that was going to be the case, and I still think that is going to be the case. So that's something to watch. It's something to watch. Can Bitcoin find some major support? Can it have at very least a relief rally? Within that relief rally, will altcoin significantly outperform? Will Bitcoin retrace to 100 or 117k? Will Bitcoin go back to new all-time highs? I believe it will go back to new all-time highs. In that case, what do altcoins do? Well, I've just shown you what the risk reward, even just to range highs, not even price discovery for Litecoin is. I've shown you it for what I like for ENA, just to range highs. Like, you know how bullish I am on XRP, holding 7-year resistance as support, creating a range. We didn't get the bullish weekly close that we wanted. I'll show you where the weekly close came in. Weekly close wasn't awful, but we've retraced it all just so far this morning. Again, just at the bottom of the range. Max fear when we're at bottom of ranges. It doesn't mean that we can't break down. It doesn't. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I don't know the future. But these are the times to be most bullish, when prices are in the absolute gutter, sentiment's in the gutter. Risk to reward to the upside is monumental. Doesn't mean we can't come down lower. That's something you always need to remember, and I always say this as well. Doesn't mean we can't come down lower, but what it does mean is like, this area is a decent risk to reward area to buy, and that's essentially what I think. Let's see if ENA can come and fill our bids at 21.51. That's where I'm bidding. And that's my only trade that I've got on at the minute. I closed my Zcash. I changed that, which is obviously good, because wow, that took a shit last night. I didn't even realize. But I took my bid off Zcash and put it onto ENA instead, because I thought that Zcash just looked a bit heavy, to be honest, and it looks like it's breaking down. Now Zcash is more interesting if we start to get into these areas. Let me show you. I'll be looking at Zcash like in here somewhere, which is like in this area, or if you want to get even more defensive than that, I'll be looking in here. So you can play either of these ranges and watch what the RSI does, but also you need to watch Bitcoin. But I'd be probably playing this first range like that, somewhere in here. It's a big wide range, and then zoom in closer for your entries, but it's probably watching for potential bids, etc. Maybe even just in here, 201, 200 level. But if we reach that, it's a big drawdown, because look, we're in a massively oversold on the 4-hour RSI down at 15. So when was the last time Zcash was anywhere near that? It was like here, which was probably during the midst of the bear market. Yeah, absolute lows. So we're at those sorts of levels, and that's like what reiterates across most of the market at the minute. Like, it feels terrible, it looks terrible, but then you got things like silver setting new all-time highs. What's silver's ticker? XAG. Silver set new all-time highs yesterday. So there's some weird stuff going on right now, guys. Like, I know liquidity and sentiment is not really with crypto. We're seeing precious metals pop off. Let's see what happens today in the US market open. We've got, I think Jerome Powell talks today as well. But US markets are opening down a little bit. They're opening down about 0.73%. Let's see. Like, I think there's too much fear, especially around like Japan and this sort of thing. I don't think markets get tricked twice in the same way. Like, it's kind of like where people say there's going to be a housing market crash in the US because, and then they try and relate it to '08 when it's nothing like '08. I'm not saying that's the same with the Japanese yen carry trade, but the reason why it was negative in the first place is because a lot of firms had to deleverage quickly. They've now had years, or a year-ish, to do that. And so I'm not saying they won't. Some of them won't be caught out. But what I am saying is they've made different investments and have different protocols in the last year, because they've already had the worry of having to deleverage. That's what I'd say to that. So I think it's not an issue, but I think it's less of an issue than people make out it to be. I think we just need a bid for crypto. I think people are worried about bidding. I think that market makers sentiment's low. No one wants to bid anything. But I do think if we do start to bid, you can probably see quite a fast reversal to the upside. Let's have a look at USDT dominance. This thing's trying to break out to the upside, but it hasn't still yet managed to do that. Again, this is another thing that we've just discussed. Like, this is a range, and if you want to be trading a range, you probably sell the local highs, which is what you should be doing here if you are trading that range, unless you think USDT dominance is going to go significantly higher, which obviously it could. But if you're a trader, then you sell these range highs and you take profits at range lows, in these ranging environments, which has been ranging for like nearly a year now. Oh, sorry, nearly 2 years now. So, like, this is where USDT dominance, most people are in stable coins. Why would you short that? Why am I saying this technically? Because then people will be distributing their stable coins into crypto, which would then make crypto prices go up as USDT dominance comes down. In fact, and we'll overlay like total market cap on this just to give you an idea. Just give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. So what we should see is, as USDT dominance rises, so as USDT dominance falls, look, price rises, and then USDT dominance had a rise and price fell, and then USDT dominance fell and price rose, then USDT dominance rose and price fell, and then since like the highs, USDT dominance has been rising and price has been falling, and that's the total market cap of crypto. So that's what we're looking for. We want USDT dominance to roll over. I think if it does roll over and comes back down to range lows, this is basically showing you that provably it can and will go to all-time highs if, say, USDT dominance rolls over from 6.4% down to the range lows of, say, 3.6. I think you'll see Bitcoin at all-time highs. We still have all the liquidity above us. I don't need to show you that every video. I talked about it in the newsletter as well. But yeah, if you want to go and check that out, then please go and have a read of my newsletter over there on Substack, the weekly insight. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe button, and share it with a friend. It helps me out a lot if you would do that. Everyone's there in the same camp as you guys. Don't shit yourself too much. Like, it is what it is. It's the cycle. It's the game. It's not easy, but it's why we have such vast opportunity. Essentially, you got to be able to ride through the times that are difficult. As always, nothing I say is financial advice. If you want a link to any non-KYC exchange, I've got a link to MEXC and WEX in the description below. Hope you enjoyed. Please do share if you did. If you got, as I said, if you have got any questions, let me know in the comments. Just keep your head up. Sometimes you just got to turn your laptop off. Sometimes you got to place blind bids, bid things that you think the price will never get to. And if you get it, you should be buzzing that you get the token that you wanted for a price that's significantly cheaper than you were willing to pay 2 months ago when everything was euphoric. And that's the way to look at it. Look at things you think are undervalued versus the market. I think ENA is one of those. I also think Litecoin realistically is, based on historical price action. I think a lot of different tokens are at this point, actually. So you just go and have a look at what you like and then work out whether you want to buy some or not. And if you do, have a long-term outlook. Could happen in the short term, as I'm showing here with USDT and total market cap. Potentially. Doesn't mean it will. We could always break out with USDT dominance. But the biggest thing in crypto is just to stay cool when everyone else is panicking. There will be more opportunities. They always come around. Don't panic about it. Take a breath. Yeah, everyone wants it to happen today. Everyone wants it to happen tomorrow. My life would be much easier if XRP was at $15. But it isn't. It's just the facts. So you can deal with it, or you can bitch about it. But neither of them are going to help you. Dealing with bitching about it's not going to help you, basically. And so you may as well deal with it. There's a lot of bargains out there. I think the market's still positive, long term, medium term. I think next year looks good. I wrote about that in the newsletter in depth. Why I think that is. I think this is a hard time psychologically. I think crypto's being beaten up more than most asset classes, if not all asset classes I can see. Like gold's actually almost nearly back at all-time highs again. In fact, it is. So it's just pain for crypto. But as you can see, Bitcoin and gold have had correlation. So far, pretty much from the lows. If we say Bitcoin's lows there, gold's led probably against Bitcoin. So, guys, I think it's coming. I know that it's easy for me to keep saying that, but I do. Nothing's changed in that respect. So, yeah, just take it easy. Don't get overly stressed about it. If you've got some extra capital, if you think things are undervalued, get it in there. Peace up. A time down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.